Commander June stood frozen before the monitoring station's main screen. The display showed what he had feared for years: Kralfax warships crossing into Alterian-protected space. Not just one or two scout vessels, but dozens of heavily armed destroyers and battlecruisers moving in precise formation. "Confirm that reading," he ordered, his four-fingered hand gripping the edge of the console. Lieutenant Hannah tapped rapidly at her workstation, her pale blue skin reflecting the red warning lights now flashing throughout the command center. "Confirmed, sir. 47 Kralfax vessels. Their weapons systems are active." Her voice was steady, but her inner eyelids fluttered rapidly. "An Alterian sign of extreme distress. They're heading directly for our outer colonies. Novus Prime will be first in their path." The command center erupted into controlled chaos as other officers processed the information. The Alterian Alliance had enjoyed centuries of peace. Their fleet consisted mostly of exploration vessels and cargo ships with minimal defensive capabilities. They were scholars, artists, and traders, not warriors. "How long until they reach Novus Prime?" June asked. "At current speed, 36 hours, Hannah replied. June turned to face the communications officer. "Send warning to all outer colonies. Begin evacuation procedures." He paused, knowing the next words would change everything. "And alert the High Council. We are now at war with the Kralfax Empire." The news spread quickly through the 5 worlds of the Alterian Alliance. The Kralfax were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors who moved from system to system, subjugating planets and enslaving their populations. Their technology was advanced, their methods brutal, and their hunger for expansion unending. 6 hours later, June stood before the emergency session of the High Council. The 7 eldest and wisest Alterians sat in their ceremonial chairs, their usually calm faces now pinched with worry. "The evacuation has begun," June reported, "but Novus Prime has over 3 million inhabitants. We cannot move them all in time." High Counselor Minky, her age evident in the fading color of her skin, leaned forward. "What of our defensive capabilities?" "Inadequate," June said simply. "Our shields might hold for a few hours at most. Our weapons cannot penetrate their armor." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Kralfax would take Novus Prime, then the next colony, and eventually reach the Alterian homeworld itself. "There must be something we can do," said Counselor Dawan, the youngest of the 7. It was then that Elder Sunwoo, keeper of the ancient archives, stepped forward. His movement was slow, his tentacles quivering with age and excitement. "Council members, Commander, there is one option we have not considered." All eyes turned to the Elder. Sunwoo was known for his extensive knowledge of pre-Alliance history, but rarely spoke at council meetings. "In the oldest section of our archives, there are coordinates to a world classified as extreme hazard by our ancestors," Sunwoo continued. "A planet whose inhabitants survived, no, thrived, in conditions that would kill most sentient species in the galaxy." Hannah, who had accompanied June to the council meeting, gasped. "You mean to contact Deathworlders? The risk would be is less than certain extinction." June interrupted, suddenly seeing a glimmer of hope. "Which world do you speak of, Elder?" Sunwoo's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The inhabitants call it Earth. Our ancestors discovered it nearly 1,000 years ago, but classified it as too dangerous for regular contact. The gravity is nearly twice our own. The atmosphere contains corrosive oxygen in quantities that would poison most species. Temperature variations on a single day can exceed 30 degrees, and the radiation from their star would cause genetic damage to our kind in mere hours of exposure." The council chamber erupted in voices. "And the inhabitants survived these conditions?" asked Counselor Minky. "Not just survived," Sunwoo replied. "They evolved in them. Our records suggest they are incredibly durable. They can continue functioning with injuries that would incapacitate any Alterian. They can run for hours without rest. Their bones and muscles developed under crushing gravity. And," he hesitated, They evolved as predators. A chill went through the room. Most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had evolved from herbivore or omnivore species. Predator species rarely achieved space travel, as their aggressive tendencies typically led to self-destruction before reaching that level of technology. Our long-range scans suggest they have recently developed faster than light travel, Sunwoo added. They may be willing to help us, or they might see us as prey, countered Counselor Dawan. Jum considered this. The Alterians faced annihilation at the hands of the Kralfax. Certain doom. These Earth creatures might indeed be dangerous, but they represented a chance, however small. I recommend we send a message, Jun said firmly. If these humans are as physically capable as the archives suggest, they might be our only hope against the Kralfax. After hours of debate, the council voted. The decision was made. They would contact Earth. In the communications center, Jum and Hannah worked with Elder Sunwoo to craft a message the humans would understand. Their linguists had studied Earth's transmission patterns for years, curious about the Deathworld inhabitants, but too cautious to make contact. We should be honest about our situation, Jum said. No deception. And offer something in exchange, added Hannah. Even predators understand trade. The message was simple. The peaceful Alterian alliance faced extinction at the hands of the aggressive Kralfax Empire. In exchange for military assistance, the Alterians would share their considerable knowledge of faster-than-light travel, gravity manipulation, and energy production, technologies they had refined over thousands of years. As the message was encoded and transmitted toward the coordinates of Earth, Jum stared at the star maps. The human world was surprisingly close, less than a week's journey at maximum speed. Do you think they'll respond? Hannah asked quietly. I don't know, Jun admitted. But right now, those Deathworlders are our only hope. Hours later, a distress signal traveled across the stars toward a small blue planet called Earth, carrying with it the fate of an entire civilization. On that world, a species of apex predators was about to receive their first invitation to join the galactic community, and their first opportunity to show the stars what humans were capable of when their allies were threatened. The message from space arrived on a Tuesday morning. At first, the technicians of the Global Communications Array in northern Finland thought it was an equipment malfunction. The signal was too structured to be natural, too alien to be human. By noon, the world's leading cryptographers had confirmed humanity had received its first communication from an extraterrestrial intelligence. By evening, they had deciphered it. Admiral Minho Kang was eating dinner with his family when the call came. 28 years in the United Earth Defense Force had taught him to recognize the tone in his aide's voice. This wasn't a drill. He kissed his wife goodbye, ruffled his grandson's hair, and was on a hypersonic transport to New York within the hour. The United Nations Security Council chamber buzzed with tension when he arrived. Representatives from every major nation sat around the circular table, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of data screens. Behind them stood military advisors, scientists, and diplomats, all whispering urgently to one another. Secretary General Ortiz called the room to order. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we all understand the gravity of the situation. We have received a distress call from an alien civilization, calling themselves the Alterian Alliance. They are under attack by a hostile force and have specifically requested Earth's military assistance. She gestured to the center of the room. Admiral Kang will brief us on our capabilities. Minho stepped forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display now showing the translated alien message. For a moment, he studied the faces around him. Some frightened, others excited, most simply stunned by the day's events. 3 years ago, he began, the nations of Earth pooled their resources to build our first deep space defense fleet. We designed these ships to protect Earth from potential threats, never thinking we might use them beyond our solar system. We have 27 vessels equipped with fusion drives and recently tested faster-than-light capabilities. He paused, allowing this information to sink in. We have the ships. "We have the weapons," he stated flatly. "And now we have somewhere to go." The chamber erupted in voices. Several Security Council members spoke over each other until Representative Choi from Korea stood up. "Admiral, are you suggesting we send our entire defensive fleet to aid an unknown alien species? What if this is a trap? What if Earth comes under attack while our ships are gone?" It was a fair question. Minho nodded respectfully. "Our analysis of the message suggests genuine distress, and they've offered advanced technology in exchange for our help. Technology that could advance our civilization by centuries." Colonel Ju Li, head of tactical operations, stepped forward with a data tablet. She tapped it, and the holographic display shifted to show star maps and projected battle scenarios. "The Alterians have provided detailed information about their enemy, these Kralthax. Based on their technical specifications, we believe our ships are comparably armed." Her fingers danced across the tablet, bringing up new projections. "Most importantly, the Kralthax don't know we exist. The element of surprise would be significant." Science Director Hyun joined them next, his thin frame dwarfed by the military officers. "There's something else the Council should understand." He adjusted his glasses nervously. "These Alterians classify Earth as a death world. Our gravity, radiation levels, atmospheric composition. Apparently we evolved in conditions considered lethal by galactic standards." A murmur went through the room. "Are you saying we're naturally stronger than these aliens?" asked the French representative. "Not just stronger," Hyun replied. "Potentially faster, more durable, and able to endure conditions they find hostile. Consider this. What we consider a pleasant spring day might be overwhelmingly hot or cold to them. What we breathe easily might be toxic at high concentrations to their systems. A fall that might break our arm might shatter their entire body." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Representative Garcia from Brazil leaned forward. "So we're basically space orcs." A few nervous laughs broke the tension. Admiral Minho allowed himself a small smile before continuing. "Whether we're space orcs or not, we have an opportunity here. Not just to help another civilization and gain advanced technology, but to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most favorable light possible, as saviors rather than threats." The debate lasted through the night. Some nations were eager to launch immediately, others cautious about potential risks. By morning, the vote was tallied. Earth would send help. Minho nodded. "Assemble the fleet. 20 nations have volunteered their best ships and crews." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of activity. Ships that had never left Earth orbit were prepped for interstellar travel. Crew assignments were finalized. Weapons systems were checked and double-checked. Captain Jinwoo Park inspected his ship, the UES Dauntless, with a critical eye. As flagship of Earth's first interstellar rescue mission, everything needed to be perfect. "Engineering reports all systems green," reported his executive officer, Commander Sina Kim. "Medical bay is stocked for extended deployment, and Armory confirms all weapon systems are at full capacity." Jinwoo nodded, trying to hide his excitement. Like every other child who had ever looked up at the stars, he had wondered if humanity would ever make contact with alien life. Now he would not only meet aliens but fight alongside them against a common enemy. "What about the crew?" he asked. "Some nerves, but mostly excitement," Senna replied. "The Marines are particularly eager to test themselves against alien opposition." Jinwoo smiled. The ship's complement of Korean Marine Special Forces had been training for space combat scenarios for years, never truly believing they would use those skills. Across the globe, similar scenes played out as ships prepared for departure. Russian cosmonauts checked their battle stations aboard the Volkov. Chinese engineers made final adjustments to the Long March's shield generators. American pilots ran combat simulations in the Roosevelt's flight deck. 5 days after receiving the alien message, Earth's first interstellar armada prepared for departure from lunar orbit. 27 ships representing 20 nations, crewed by the best humanity had to offer. Admiral Minho addressed them from the bridge of the flagship. Men and women of Earth, today we embark on the most important mission in human history. We go not to conquer, not to explore, but to save others who have asked for our help. In doing so, we will show the galaxy what kind of species we truly are. He paused, looking at the faces of his bridge crew, determined, focused, ready. The Alterians call us Deathworlders. Perhaps that's true. We evolved on a harsh planet that forced us to become strong, resilient, and adaptable. Today, we use those qualities not for ourselves, but for others. The massive engines of Earth's fleet glowed to life, and one by one, the ships disappeared into the darkness of space, their crews unaware that their natural biological adaptations would soon become legendary across the stars. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 27 warships, their hulls gleaming under the light of an unfamiliar sun. The transition from faster-than-light travel had been smooth, smoother than their test runs in the Sol system. Captain Soyeon Kim allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on the scene outside her viewport. What she saw turned that satisfaction to horror. The planet Novus Prime hung in space before them, its blue-green surface scarred with orange fire. Massive Kralfax warships, twice the size of Earth's largest vessel, hovered in low orbit, methodically firing energy weapons at the surface. Where those beams touched down, the planet's crust melted into glass. Sensors showed 12 Kralfax capital ships, reported Lieutenant Woojin at the tactical station. They're targeting population centers. Ground shields are failing. Life signs? Soyeon asked, her voice tight. Millions on the surface. Many clustered in underground shelters. Woojin looked up from his display. Captain, there's a small Alterian defense station still intact. They're hailing us. On screen, Soyeon ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing an alien face. The Alterian had pale blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and delicate facial features. Its expression was hard to read, but the trembling in its voice was unmistakable. By the void, whispered Commander Doyen of the Alterian Defense Force. The Deathworlders actually came. For a moment, Soyeon was struck by the strangeness of it all. Humanity's first contact with alien life was happening in the middle of a war zone. This is Captain Soyeon Kim of the Earth vessel Dauntless. We received your distress call and have come to help. She spoke clearly, knowing the translation systems might struggle with nuance. What's the current situation? The Alterian commander seemed to gather himself. The Kralfax attacked 3 days ago. Our orbital defenses lasted less than an hour. They've been bombarding our cities since then. Civilian casualties are. He paused, significant. Across the bridge, Soyeon could see the effect these words had on her crew. Humans had fought each other for millennia, but the concept of systematic orbital bombardment against civilian targets was beyond even humanity's darkest moments. Fleet Command Channel, she ordered. The communications officer nodded, and Soyeon addressed all 27 Earth vessels at once. All ships, battle stations, defensive formation Delta, prepare to engage hostile forces. Admiral Minho's voice came through the command channel. Captain Kim, the Dauntless will lead the first contact attempt. Try diplomacy, but if they fire, you are authorized to respond with full force. Understood, Admiral. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, bringing weapons systems online and raising shields. Despite months of training, there was a palpable tension in the air. They were about to engage in humanity's first interstellar battle. Open a channel to the largest Kralfax vessel, Soyeon ordered. The screen changed to show another alien figure. Unlike the delicate Alterians, this creature was massive, with gray-green scaled skin and a heavy ridge of bone protecting its skull. 4 yellow eyes narrowed as it took in the human bridge crew. The aliens stared in fascination and fear at the human representatives on their view screens. Captain Soyeon Kim stood tall, her posture relaxed despite gravity settings that strained the Alterians' bodies. This is Captain Kim of the Earth Alliance, Cease your attack on Novus Prime immediately or face immediate consequences. The translation system conveyed her words, but the Kralfax commander made a sound that needed no translation, a dismissive bark of laughter. New prey enters the hunting grounds. The alien growled, its voice deep and resonant. Your vessels are unknown to us, but your threats are meaningless. The Alterian worlds belong to the Empire now. Leave, or be destroyed with them. Soyan kept her expression neutral. We have no quarrel with your empire, but the Alterians have requested our protection. I repeat, cease your attack and withdraw from this system. The Kralfax commander leaned forward, displaying rows of sharp teeth. You protect nothing, unknown species. You will learn your place in the galaxy. With that, the transmission cut off. They're targeting us, Wujin reported calmly. Energy weapons charging. Soyan had expected this outcome. First contact specialists had warned that some alien civilizations might view diplomacy as weakness. Shields at maximum. Hold position. The space between the fleets lit up as multiple beams of energy lanced out from the Kralfax vessels, striking the Dauntless and two other Earth ships. The bridge shuddered slightly, but nothing like the violent impact Soyan had anticipated. Damage report, she demanded. Lieutenant Junho looked up from the damage control station. Surprised. Minimal, Captain. Their weapons barely penetrated our outer hull. Shield holding at 92%. A murmur of relief passed through the bridge. Earth's defensive technology, designed to withstand the harshest conditions of space, was proving more effective than they'd hoped against alien weapons. Soyan's expression hardened. These aliens had attacked without provocation, bombed civilians, and now fired on her ship. Diplomacy had failed. Return fire. Show them what happens when you attack friends of Earth. Weapons locked on target, Wujin confirmed. Fire. The Dauntless shuddered as its main batteries unleashed a barrage of kinetic and energy weapons. Across the fleet, other Earth vessels joined the attack. What followed shocked both alien forces. The Kralfax flagship's shields flared bright blue under the assault, then collapsed entirely as human railgun rounds. Simple projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, tore through defenses designed to repel energy weapons. The Dauntless's follow-up laser strike cut deep into the alien vessel's hull, venting atmosphere and crew into space. Direct hit on their flagship, Wujin reported. Their shields are down. Two other enemy vessels reporting significant damage. On the tactical display, Soyan watched as Earth ships executed maneuvers that seemed to confuse the Kralfax. The aliens had expected a traditional exchange of fire from static positions. Instead, humanity's ships moved constantly, using defensive formations developed over centuries of warfare on Earth. Admiral Minho is ordering a full attack, her communications officer reported. All ships are engaging. What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Human weapons tore through Kralfax shields designed to repel known galactic armaments. Earth tactics, evolved from millennia of warfare, proved devastatingly effective against enemies who had never encountered such relentless aggression. 3 Kralfax vessels exploded in rapid succession as concentrated fire from the human fleet overwhelmed their defenses. The remaining alien ships attempted to regroup, but coordinated strikes from Earth fighters, small, agile craft piloted by humans trained to endure extreme G-forces, disrupted their formation. Captain, we're being hailed by the Alterian station, reported the communications officer. Commander Doyen's face appeared on screen again, all 4 eyes wide with astonishment. Your weapons, your tactics, we've never seen anything like this. The Kralfax are the most feared military force in this sector. Soyan nodded grimly. On Earth, we have a saying. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. The Kralfax have shown what they do to defenseless worlds. We won't give them the chance to continue. As if to punctuate her words, another Kralfax ship erupted in flames as Earth missiles found their mark. The remaining alien vessels began to retreat, their formation broken. their military doctrine shattered by an enemy they had not expected and could not understand. On the bridge of the Dauntless, humanity's first interstellar battle was drawing to a close. They had come to save an alien civilization and found themselves revealing a truth that would soon spread throughout the galaxy. The Deathworlders of Earth were a force unlike any the stars had seen before. The Grand Hall of Harmony on the Alterian homeworld had never hosted beings from a Deathworld before. The environmental systems worked overtime, creating a separate bubble of atmosphere around the human delegation, not for the aliens' protection, but for the humans. The air breathed by Alterians contained trace elements that would slowly poison a human lung. Admiral Minho Kang found it amusing that his hosts considered their world dangerous to humans, when the reverse was more accurate. The Alterian gravity was so weak that he felt like he could jump 10 meters high. The room temperature, considered comfortable by Alterian standards, had him sweating through his formal uniform. The diplomatic summit had been hastily arranged following the battle at Novus Prime. 3 days of fighting had driven the Kralfax from the Alterian colony world. 7 Kralfax warships destroyed, the rest retreating to the Empire's borders. A clear victory for Earth's first military action beyond its solar system. Now came the harder part. Peace. Elder Tahoe, the eldest member of the Alterian High Council, sat across from the human delegation. His blue skin had faded to a pale lavender with age, and the 4 eyes that dominated his face blinked in sequence as he studied the humans. "You fight like no species we have encountered," said Elder Tayo, his voice translated through the communication devices developed by both species scientists. "We are grateful, but also concerned." Admiral Minho understood the unspoken question. The Alterians had just witnessed humanity's capacity for violence. They had seen Earth ships tear through defenses that had kept the Alterians subjugated for generations. They were wondering if they had traded one threat for another. Humanity evolved fighting. The elements, predators, disease, and ourselves, Minho admitted with a gentle smile. But we also evolved compassion, art, and a desire for peace. Ambassador Minji Kim, Earth's chosen diplomatic representative, nodded in agreement. Our history is filled with conflict, yes, but also with healing, with building, with dreaming of better worlds. She gestured to the data tablet before her. We've brought not just weapons, but medicine, art, music, the full spectrum of human achievement. The Alterians whispered among themselves, their translator devices switched off for privacy. Minho used the pause to observe the other aliens in the room. Besides the Alterians, representatives from 3 other species had been invited to observe the historic meeting, the first formal alliance between Earth and an alien civilization. The Vordai, Methan brothers who looked like tall, thin humanoids with reflective skin, stood in their sealed environmental chambers. The Palaxians, a species evolved from avian ancestors, perched on special seats accommodating their unusual body structure. The Tundrae, silicon-based life forms who moved with deliberate slowness, occupied the back of the hall. All watched the humans with a mixture of curiosity and caution. News of the battle at Novus Prime had spread quickly through nearby star systems. Elder Tejo finished his consultation and reactivated his translator. "We believe in your peaceful intentions, Admiral, but the fact remains that your natural capabilities are disturbing to many galactic species." "I understand," Minho replied. "On Earth, we have creatures with natural defenses so deadly that other animals give them wide space. Bright colors, distinctive sounds, warnings to stay away. Perhaps humans seem this way to you." "An apt analogy," said Elder Tayo, his upper eyes blinking in what the humans had learned was a sign of agreement. "But unlike those creatures, you seek engagement rather than isolation." Commander Doyen, who had coordinated with the human fleet during the battle, stepped forward. His military uniform bore new scorch marks, evidence of his participation in the ground combat alongside human marines. "The Kralfax are spreading stories," warned Commander Doyen. They call you the predators from the poison world and gather allies against you. Our intelligence suggests they have never faced such a decisive defeat. Their empire spans 12 star systems, and they will not allow this loss to stand unchallenged. The hall fell silent. The implications were clear. The Krell Fax would return, and they would bring reinforcements. Ambassador Minji exchanged glances with Admiral Minho before responding. "Then we'll need allies of our own," she said, her voice firm but friendly. "Our protection in exchange for your technology and knowledge of this galaxy." She gestured to the document displayed on the central holographic projector, a formal alliance between Earth and the Alterian worlds. "This agreement benefits both our peoples. You gain the protection of Earth's fleet. We gain faster-than-light technology superior to our own and star charts of nearby systems." Elder Teho considered this. "And what of cultural exchange? We have 7,000 years of recorded history, art that spans the spectrum of light, music composed to harmonize with the stellar frequencies." Minji smiled. "We have rock and roll." This required some explanation from the translators, but soon the Alterians were nodding in understanding. The concept of cultural exchange seemed to ease tensions more than any military or technological discussion. "There is one more matter," said Commander Doyen. "Our scientists have analyzed your biology more thoroughly. Your ability to endure pain, to continue functioning despite injury, to process toxins that would kill most species. These are valuable traits." Admiral Minho raised an eyebrow. "You want our soldiers?" "No," said Elder Teo quickly. "We want your healers. Your immune systems adapted to fight diseases that would devastate our populations. Your medical knowledge evolved from treating beings who can survive trauma long enough to be healed." This was unexpected. Minho had anticipated requests for weapons, for training in Earth warfare tactics. Instead, the Alterians wanted Earth's doctors. "We can arrange that," he said. "Medical personnel, scientific advisors, cultural attaches." The negotiations continued for hours, covering everything from trade agreements to communication protocols to the establishment of Earth embassies on Alterian worlds. By the end, both sides were satisfied with the terms. As representatives from both species approached the document, Ambassador Minji placed a small box on the table. On Earth, historic agreements are often signed with special implements, pens filled with ink. She opened the box to reveal several elegant writing instruments. "We brought these as gifts to mark this occasion." The Alterians were touched by the gesture. One by one, representatives from both worlds signed the alliance document, the first formal agreement between Earth and another intelligent species. As the ceremony concluded, Intelligence Officer Jae-hyun approached Admiral Minho with a data tablet. His expression was grave. "Sir, long-range scans show the Krall Fax assembling a massive fleet," he reported quietly. "They're coming back, and bringing friends." Minho took the tablet, studying the images. The Krall Fax had gathered 3 times the number of ships they'd deployed at Novus Prime. More concerning were the unfamiliar vessel designs mixed among them. Allies from other aggressive species. He looked up at the hall filled with representatives from peaceful worlds, all now looking to Earth for protection. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community had been as warriors. Now they would need to be both shield and sword for their new allies. "Send word to Earth," he told Jae-hyun. "We need reinforcements. And tell Captain Kim to prepare the fleet for battle." As the celebration continued around them, the humans knew that their true test in this new alliance was yet to come. The galaxy was watching to see if the Deathworlders would stand by their promises when the full might of the Krall Fax Empire came for revenge. The skies above the Alterian homeworld filled with starships. The Krall Fax Armada emerged from hyperspace in waves. First their heavy destroyers, then battlecruisers, and finally the massive dreadnought carrying Warmaster Krazak himself. Following them came ships of allied species who had joined the Krall Fax cause, either through fear or the promise of sharing in the spoils. The final count was grim. 157 enemy vessels against the combined human-Alterian fleet of 52 ships. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, Admiral Minho watched the tactical display with calm focus. The 2 weeks since the Alliance signing had not been wasted. Reinforcements from Earth had arrived, including 3 new heavy cruisers. More importantly, human engineers had helped upgrade Alterian vessels with improved shields and targeting systems. Enemy fleet approaching optimal firing range, reported Captain Soyeon Kim, now serving as Minho's fleet commander. Their formation suggests they plan to divide our forces before concentrating fire on the planetary defense grid. Commander Doyen, the Alterian liaison officer, looked pale. Even with your upgrades, our homeworld's shields cannot withstand such firepower for long. We expected this, said Admiral Minho calmly. Deploy the fighter wings. Activate Operation Thunderstorm. Throughout the human fleet, pilots rushed to their fighters. Unlike larger vessels, these small craft were piloted by a single human, able to perform maneuvers that would tear apart similar alien ships. The Alterians had been shocked to learn that humans could endure up to 9 times their normal gravity for short periods, forces that would kill most sentient species instantly. Operation Thunderstorm active, confirmed Soyeon. All ships acknowledge receipt of battle plans. Minho nodded and opened the fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Admiral Kang. Today we fight not just for our new allies, but for a principle, that the strong protect the weak, that tyrants will find no easy conquests in this galaxy. Execute Battle Plan Alpha. Good hunting. The human fleet moved first, breaking their defensive formation in a way that appeared chaotic to Kralfax observers. Instead of holding position near the planet's defense grid, Earth ships accelerated directly toward the enemy armada. They're confused by our approach, Doyen noted, watching the enemy's response on the tactical display. Kralfax doctrine calls for establishing firing lines at optimal range. Which is exactly why we won't do that, Minho replied. Earth vessels executed maneuvers the Kralfax tactical computers deemed impossible, human pilots withstanding forces that would render other species unconscious. Fighters swarmed between larger ships, targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. The first hour of battle saw losses on both sides. 3 human destroyers and 5 Alterian vessels were destroyed, but they took 12 enemy ships with them. The Kralfax advantage in numbers was being offset by human unpredictability and aggression. Then the tide began to turn. Kralfax ships, designed for direct confrontation, struggled against human hit-and-run tactics. Their allied vessels, expecting to join an easy victory, found themselves isolated and destroyed one by one. Admiral, enemy destroyers are changing course, Soyeon reported urgently. They're heading for the civilian evacuation centers on the surface. Minho's expression darkened. The Kralfax, finding themselves outmatched in ship-to-ship combat, were targeting non-combatants. It was a desperate move, meant to force the defenders to abandon their tactical advantage. Intercept course impossible, Doyen said, his voice breaking. They'll reach bombardment range in 3 minutes. Major Yoonji Choi, commander of the Marine Special Forces aboard the Dauntless, stepped forward from her position at the back of the bridge. Admiral, my team can board their command ship, she said firmly. If we can capture or eliminate their warmaster, their attack will falter. Minho considered this. Boarding an enemy vessel in the middle of a space battle was suicide by any reasonable standard. But humans had evolved to take such risks when necessary. How quickly can you deploy? He asked. My team has been ready since the battle began, Yoonji replied with a slight smile. We've been waiting for the order. 15 minutes later, 3 stealth dropships detached from the Dauntless, their hulls coated with materials that absorbed sensor scans. While the main battle raged, these small craft approached the Kralfax flagship from its blind spot, directly below its massive engines. Inside the lead dropship, Major Yoonji checked her squad's equipment one final time. 24 Marines in lightweight combat armor, armed with weapons specifically designed for ship-to-ship combat. Their objective was clear: fight their way to the bridge and force the Kralfax to call off the attack on civilian targets. 30 seconds to contact, the pilot announced. Breach point identified. Yunji activated the squad channel. Remember your training. Their atmosphere will be thin by our standards, but loaded with sulfur compounds. Helmets sealed until we're sure of conditions. They'll have gravity set to their homeworld standard, about 60% of Earth's. Use that to your advantage. The dropship attached to the Kralfax vessel's hull with a muffled thump. Cutting lasers sliced through the outer plating, and the Marines poured in. What followed would become the stuff of galactic legend. Humans moving through toxic atmosphere breaches without environmental suits when their helmets were damaged, continuing to fight despite injuries that would incapacitate other species. The Kralfax security forces, used to intimidating physically weaker species, found themselves outmatched in close combat by creatures evolved on a high-gravity world. Major Yunji led from the front, her combat skills honed by years of training in Earth's most elite special forces. The Kralfax defenders fell back step by step as the humans advanced through the massive ship, their retreat becoming increasingly desperate. On the third deck, Yunji's helmet was damaged by enemy fire. Without hesitation, she removed it and continued breathing the alien atmosphere. The sulfur burned her lungs and made her eyes water, but the human body, evolved to handle a wide range of environmental toxins, adapted quickly. "How are you still standing?" gasped a captured Kralfax officer as Yunji's team secured the main engineering section. "That air should be killing you." "I'm from Seoul," Yunji replied with a grim smile. "Our air quality was worse than this back in the 2020s. 6 hours after boarding, the human Marines reached the bridge. War Master Krazak, the architect of the Kralfax expansion campaign, found himself staring down the barrels of human weapons, wielded by blood-spattered soldiers who had fought through hundreds of his best troops to reach him. "Surrender your fleet," Yunji demanded, "or die where you stand."